This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
£250 on offer. High stakes racing, hustling and banging imminent door to door. We guarantee racing here will be separated by only a matter of inches between the drivers. Welcome along to the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya for the Barcelona Grand Prix. Located just a half-hour drive from downtown Barcelona itself. Virtually, of course, here at the brand spanking new iRacing Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. What an amazing circuit and what an amazing job iRacing have done this time out. There is the track on screen there. It is a 4.7 kilometer circuit. That's 2.9 miles, depending on your units of choice. 13 turns as we use this historic Grand Prix circuit layout. Boy, do I love this layout, and boy, do I love that you're able to simulate this now on iRacing itself. We will have 25 minutes of racing action. That's 2 races, of course. So the first one will decide the order for the second. We're currently in qualifying, sorting out our order for race number 1.
Yeah, absolutely.
No incident limit, of course. There'll be 1 fast repair available for all the drivers. Open setup though, so it's all about these drivers here today to put in the work, of course, not only in the hours of qualifying, but in the past days for entering this race. From myself, Jonathan Simon, Connery Maddock alongside me, Hugo Luis behind the scenes in production, and Connery, we head to a circuit that is oh so beautiful in iRacing. It is brilliant conditions for the drivers, of course, 20 degrees Celsius, but boy, do I love Barcelona.
Yeah, absolutely. And excuse me for firing off a little bit early there, just jumping the gun. But yeah, this is an absolutely fantastic track to play host to what is, I believe, the first Race Sport TV broadcast that we'll have here on the new iRacing circuit of Circuit de Catalunya. And of course, in your opening monologue, you said this is the classic layout. So that means no final chicane to be concerned about here. It's flat, or well, not flat on these cars, but basically a very high-speed final corner leading on to that pit straight, which may just have some cause some fun down towards turn 1 as drivers try to slipstream each other.
Most certainly. Of course, Plato, Sutton, Chepalevsky, Williams, they are just some of your star-studded names here that appear in not only the real world, but of course the simulation racing universe, Connery. So talent, a must. And I'm pretty sure with all 27 drivers listed out there, as we see a brilliant onboard shot with Stelian Chepalevsky for today's event, this is something that we're going to get very accustomed to for not only today, but for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series, which will begin in a few weeks' time.
Yep, absolutely. Can't wait to get that one started. That's for sure. Going to be starting a little bit earlier in terms of us Europeans, starting sort of in the early evening in terms of that one. We just saw a little bit of the onboard there with Stelian Chepalevsky. He's got a pretty impressive rig, I have to say. He also is using VR as well, which just brings the immersion to another level. I have still yet to try that out. Even though I've been to the Sim Racing Expo, twice now, I still haven't got myself the opportunity to get one of those headsets on. I've just been working too much.
No, I mean, I haven't tried one either. I think it'll be thrilling. I've only just recently moved to triple screens in sim racing, and I love the change as well. I've always been a single screen guy, wooden chair, basic wheel, never really gone too full out. And the likes of Ender Benito, who's a McLaren Shadow driver, he's still someone who's been famous for just keeping a basic setup. Just wooden chair, steering wheel in front of him, single screen, and he's one of the quickest drivers of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. And there have been multiple iRacing World Champions that have just done it with things just like a Logitech G25. So, I mean, maybe in recent times now the equipment has gotten good enough so that it does make quite a big difference to the pro driving side of things. But it looks like we've come towards the end of qualifying here, Jonathan. We've got our grid set for race 1.
Yep, it's almost over pretty much right now, as Ashley Sutton is currently provisionally on pole, and there's still a few other drivers here ready to set some laps towards the closing stages. How about Jack Ashton through the final corner? I can just see him. This is, of course, Roque Garcia at the same time. Jack Ashton, though, across the line will not be able to improve, and you will only start no greater than your second row in the 4th position. And I don't think there's anybody who's close enough here, Connery, apart from this driver in the number 13. That's Benjamin Mears, who will be ready to pip Ashley Sutton from pole position.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking a whole bunch of curb coming up towards what was the penultimate corner and now in towards that final corner. Just a little bit of a dab on the brakes, try and get that nose in, try and get the traction for the middle of the corner. That's 100% throttle all the way across the line. Benjamin Mears, is he able to improve on his lap time? That is going to be a no, about 0.4 of a second off of doing so. So he will remain P20 for the grid.
Yes, we know Ash Sutton, who represents CQR in sim racing, also a British Touring Car Championship world champion. And he is someone I've known for many years, and someone who loves the iRacing service, has earned his way in the real world, has earned his way here today to a provisional pole. What can Chepelevsky do as he screams through the final corner? You're going to see an immense amount of cars do that. Chepelevsky across the line for the final time. 59.1 to beat. He begins a lap. Now, we should be able to squeeze this in, but no, that's it. No, session's done for him.
Yeah, checkered flag is out there on circuit, and this being open qualifying, they're able to finish off the lap that the checkered flag started on, but no more there for Stellan Chepelevsky. So I don't see anyone else out there on circuit. So that is finally the grid set here for race 1, despite what I said about a minute and a half ago.
Yeah, I know. I got too excited as well. I thought that was over, but nevertheless. Here we ride on board with Chepelevsky. This is from virtual reality. Boy, I love this view. Connery, have a look at this. We got to buy some VR now in the ad break.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have to ask Hugo to pay us more to try and experience this in actuality.
Controversial. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to wrap up today's broadcast. No, I'm just joking. That will be it. Let's have a look at your grid as we switch over for our first of 2 25-minute races. BTCC champion, I should say, of Ash Sutton will start for the first position alongside Jason Cooper. Jason Plato, of course, the other BTCC driver, starting from the second row. Brilliant performance from him in the 888. Let's see what he can do in the race coming up as Jack Ashton will join him on the second row. How about Roque Garcia and one of iRacing Rallycross's best drivers in Chepelevsky rounding out the third row. The rest of the order will cycle through on screen, and you'll see some notable names, the likes of David Williams, Coanda Simsport driver, racing today for 250 pounds of action. Now, Connery, as we look at the grid, the race format today, of course, the winner will be the person who claims the most points when both race finish results are combined.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it'll definitely be a calculators out boys situation coming into that second race with how close things may be. But you can see the rest of your runners cycling through there. That is the end of your starting grid here for today's race. We still got about 40 seconds left to grid here. So a couple of drivers still in the pit lane waiting to wheel themselves out there. But this is going to be a very interesting affair on the way down towards turn 1. And I think that's just a little bit of an understatement.
Yeah, exactly. This is an extremely long run down to turn 1. Over 600 meters here from the start line to the apex of this wonderful first corner at Barcelona. One of your best overtaking spots today. Of course, the other one here at the historic layout is turn 10. And let me tell you something. You add talent like this in a brilliant Mazda MX5. Every corner is going to be an overtaking spot. Lights illuminate for 25 minutes of action, and we go green for the Barcelona Grand Prix. Brilliant start from Sutton. Plato already alongside Cooper here on the run down to turn 1. Cooper's just going to have that little bit of extra slipstream that Plato won't have, but it looks like Sutton will lead into the first corner. Late on the brakes is Jason Plato, but he'll have to form up into third.
Yep, he will, and well, Cooper just had a little bit of a compromise line there coming through turn 3. It entered very, very shallow compared to the rest of the field. Plato had a good amount of mid-corner speed coming through there, but not feeling the pass perhaps down in towards turn 4. The body language of the card certainly doesn't seem to be the case, as all 3 of your podium runners were all line astern and no way through the right-hander, but there's a good gaggle of cars having a bit of a scrap behind. One of them is Roque Garcia trying to defend from McIntyre.
Yep, and Chepelevsky's had an awful start from 6th down to 8th here as they head through turn 5, the left-hander. Here we ride on board with David Williams in the 9th position. He is right behind Stelian Chepelevsky, screaming into the wonderful turn 7 here at Barcelona. Don't want to run too wide to the right-hand side. You will receive an off-track. But what you'll see through the next right-hander here is an important run for these guys on the first lap. They'll need to floor the throttle, pedal away as quickly as possible as we watch Chepelevsky on the left-hand side of the screen, because turn 10 in the downhill braking zone, I saw 4 wide here on Tuesday night racing MX5s.
Yeah, certainly very, very possible. How many of those survived, Jonathan?
I can't even remember. Probably none.
Well, there we go. I think that's the answer I expected in that one. But Chepelevsky still darts back in line as we head ourselves towards the final couple of corners of the first lap then here today. We still have Sutton leading from Jason Cooper, from Plato, from Ashton. That's a very wide line off the final corner taken by Cooper. But now it's a draft fest all the way down the line in towards turn 1. Is Cooper going to have enough runner steam to make this pass happen? Down in towards turn 1. Has the draft, backs out of it though, and Plato's not close enough behind to challenge for P2 either.
Yep, oh, they're all extremely close in the braking zone as they smack the brake pedal with the left foot. But at the end of the first lap, it's Sutton from Cooper, from Plato, Ashton, Garcia, McIntyre. Chepelevsky's been able to claim a position up in the 7th. Williams into 8th. He's under attack here from the driver of Ben Kriener. Up the inside goes Kriener into turn 4, and this should be a nice move.
It should be. David Williams trying to hang it around the outside, though, of turn 4. He will have the inside line for turn 5 here. Big wide line being taken by Kriener, trying to find the exit of the corner, but simply not able to do so right now. And I think Kriener really feels like he needs to get a move on here, because these cars in this second train are now losing touch to your top 7 drivers who have broken away at the front of the field.
And the draft, Connery, is so important in the MX5, you know, being a car that's so beefy, and it takes about 2 minutes to manage a lap around Barcelona. Once you lose that draft, you could find yourself in turmoil for the rest of the race.
Yep, you could, and that's what what the mindset's going to be, especially for those in the second train. They really need to work together now to try and do something about being able to catch up back to this leading pack of 7 cars as it stands. We do have a car off, though, in the backfield. That's Carl Jacquelet there that has had a good couple of issues down at the rear of your field. Is this helped by anyone, or is it just all on his own? We'll just have to wait and see. Down on the brakes.
Oh, goodness!
Oh, the numbers.
Who was that?
Was that the number 16 there? Just came flying in. What was that?
Yeah, it's Matthew Emery, and I think, Carl's out of the race now with terminal damage. This is Matthew Emery. Oh, God, he's too desperate for 250 pounds here. And that's a send and a half. Either they're having a huge laugh about that, or there are some angry eyebrows.
I mean, there's 2 very different mindsets. I'm reminded of the eNASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series race just last night, where it was Keegan Leahy that got basically wrecked out after the coming towards the checkered flag by his teammate, and then he was like, he was just saying, "Oh, it's all fine. I would have probably done that. It would have crossed my mind." He's trying to act all happy about it, but I know deep down that he's probably just like trying to punch a wall or something.
Yeah, I would be. In a race like this, I don't care who does it to me. Oh, Plato on the apex of the corner carried an immense amount of speed there through the turn 5 apex, and contact loose behind. Oh God, Plato spun at the apex of 5. Plato's out of the lead battle.
Oh, he has to rejoin as well, but there is a little bit of a gap to slot himself into. But replay up on your screen, you see that contact actually with Roque Garcia right in the back of the shot. Didn't exactly see what happened to Jason Plato.
No.
You see it up on your screen. It's just a case of getting on that entry curb and actually 2 tires into the dirt on the outside of the entry to the corner and just spun him right round.
Yeah, and I also felt it could have been a bit of off-throttle oversteer. This is Roque Garcia behind. But again, I think if it was off-throttle oversteer, but you might be right, probably the dirt as well, Connery. But the best way we know in racing to manage off-throttle oversteer is just to actually go a bit faster, mash the throttle a little bit more, and get that rear end planted to the ground.
I would have thought most of these guys are used to off-throttle oversteer, considering the front-wheel drive Kia Optima that gets used in a lot of
and the TCR
series.
now.
But I mean, it's the TCR car now. Yeah, we have to get with the times here. But the TCR car is definitely really a lot of fun, and much more fun, I have to say, than the Kia Optima ever was.
Let me tell you something, Ashley Sutton could be 250 pounds richer. We're riding on board here with Steve Hefford, 3 wide. I can guarantee you it is as we switch the camera shot. Hefford, though, is going to have to form up through turn number 1, and right behind him is not Matthew Emery, it's James McRitchie. McRitchie is behind these two. Plato is the driver ahead on the recovery from his earlier spin last lap round. But this is quality racing, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, it is. No one really making all that much contact just yet, as these guys try to work themselves around. And Hefford, actually, big swing in terms of the line change on towards turn number 5. Then it's very long downhill, left-hander. Everyone's still single file all the way back. But this is just the battle for just outside of your top 10 here. We still have battles all across the racing circuit. We still have your podium sitters all really stuck together.
And here they run down to turn 10 yet another time. Multitude of lines being taken by your top 3, all trying to find a piece of tarmac that works. And turn 10's very cambered there on the inside, Connery. So again, this is one of those circuits of Catalunya, and you see it when you go to a circuit like Mount Panorama. You take racing lines that are very uncanny, but you have to drive to the racetrack. You know, if you hug the inside of the cutting, just because you're not widening it on the entry doesn't mean you're going slower. You're actually driving the car into the camber, which is faster.
Yeah, absolutely, and the drivers that have done their homework will certainly understand the situation coming through that corner. Here comes the challenge for the race lead, then Sutter not defensive on the way down towards turn 1. Jason Cooper able to take an inside line away relatively easily. Can he complete it on the brakes? He can, brings it into the apex. Sutton can't find the speed through the corner, maybe through the second apex. He'll have a better chance on the way up through turn 3, but decides to stay behind for now. So this is an interesting one. I thought these guys would be absolutely hammer and tongs trying to get every single opportunity possible, but doesn't seem to be the case just yet. Sutton passive on the way down in towards turn 4. These guys are being a lot more respectful than I thought they would be.
You say passive, I think passive aggressive there. That was a nice little peek from Sutton, and he may send it here up the inside. Oh, he thinks better of it through the apex of 5. And Sutton, for the first time this race, will not lead. The lead goes to Jason Cooper, who did start in the front row alongside Sutton. And he's earned his way into that first position, but this has allowed the likes of McIntyre in 4th to rejoin the battle. Stelian Chepelevsky in the 5th position. And we've been watching him all race, of course, Connery, in our split screen coverage here on RaceSpot. And Stelian, I have to say, is one of the most passionate guys you'll ever meet in sim racing.
Yeah, absolutely, and I had the pleasure of seeing him in person at the Sim Racing Expo as well. Of course, wasn't actually competing in things like the Porsche Sim Racing Trophy or anything like that, but was just taking in the sights, it has to be said, and he was very, very nice indeed as well. One of the nice guys at Sim Racing, I suppose, but sometimes that really can hurt you in races like this where you do need to be aggressive out onto the curb. They will go for the entry for the final corner, and it's going to be P1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and even including 6 in that one, all stacked together. David Williams right on the back of this train as we're on board with Jack Ashton.
Oh, don't go 3 wide, Ashton. Good. He thinks better of it. Swap for the lead here. Sutton now back into the first position. Now, here's the problem, right? You know, there again, positions. They're jockeying on the run down to turn 4 here. But now it's allowed Chepolevsky in the fray. And David Williams is ready to make a statement here from 6th. So, you know, this train's going to, I mean, Williams, remember, earlier on in the race was out of this train as we see side-by-side action between McIntyre and Ashton. But for Williams now, he's kept in it, and he's doing a brilliant job.
Yeah, he is, and trying to find any way through on the group of cars ahead of him as they're all just changing alternate lines every which way, especially Jack Ashton, who seems to be going very, very wide indeed at some of these corners, as there's a slide there from Jack McIntyre heading their way up through turn 7, that chicane, just as you get up towards this very long turn 9, and then onto what basically you can call the back straight here at Catalunya, and well, all of that confusion has resulted in Sutton able to get a good couple of tenths of a second gap here. Here comes the challenge for P2, perhaps. Ashton almost angled towards the inside there for turn 10, but decided better of it, and now up through towards the final sector. McIntyre looking particularly aggressive through this one as well, but again, still all very respectful. No side-by-sides just yet. They're all just sizing each other up for the final moments of the race.
And Ashton, the 55-year-old, you could say, he's 5 years away from qualifying for 60-plus racing adventures, which you just broadcasted.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll be sim racing when I'm that old. I don't know if I'll be going to when I'm
you never know.
Who knows? But yeah, I'm 21, so it's going to be a while before I get.
Oh, you're too old. You are too old. Kick him out of the broadcast, Connery Maddock. Here's the battle for the lead here with Sutton on the run down to turn 1. Cooper, though, not even close into the first corner. Now, what we saw into the final corner here at Barcelona, turn 13 in the historic layout, 16 in the Grand Prix layout, is this race has no incident limit. And what I saw earlier on in the week when we had another MX5 race here with no incident limit was all 4 leaders drove about 10 car lengths off to the left-hand side into the gravel. And it might not have been quicker because they had to travel a longer distance, but they were able to carry so much speed into there.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Maybe iRacing needs to have a look at that and then just go, maybe we put a Le Mans style slowdown penalty coming off that one just to stop people doing that. Although I guess that doesn't really solve the problem with how the grass and the gravel sometimes acts here. But with these race leaders, though, everything from what I can see has been relatively fair game so far. A bit of overcommitment there coming up through the 7 and 8 chicane there from McIntyre as we have a look back. No, back forward, thank you, Hugo. As we go towards these race leaders once again. It just seems like everyone wants to make the move, but no one's just committing to it at any stage.
Let's have a listen to Ashton here through 10. God, he's late on the brakes there through 11 and 12 right now. Now he has to form up through the final sector. They go. Let's have a listen again. So I like that, Connery. Completely full throttle through turn 12. Oh, there's lapped cars up ahead here. I didn't expect that. What's going on here? They're almost trying to take them out. This is like an online public lobby right now. Oh, who's that? That's Wesley Walsh. He's got a lot of damage to that MX5.
Yeah, everyone just has to scatter across the pit straight there as he was indecisive, perhaps, about which line he wanted to take coming down the pit straight. So that was, well, if these drivers weren't awake, then they definitely are now with something like that happening coming down the pit straight. But the thing is, we are quickly nearing the 10-minute remaining mark in this race. And, well, he did mention it, Jack Ashton looking to be particularly aggressive here inside of this top 5. All different braking points on the way through turn 4 there. And thankfully, they're not running into the back of each other by any means. But Ashton's still very close by the time turn 5 arrives. A slight missed apex there for Cooper. He's able to recover by getting a late one. But Ashton, he's... well, I think he's the one going to be making moves here inside the final 10 minutes.
He looks racy, doesn't he?
Another lap car ahead.
Nails the apex of turn 7, and there's a lap car up ahead there. Is that the driver of Carl Jacolet, who was in the earlier incident? Yeah, and he's going to get straight out of the way of this bunch. That's the right way to do it. You're a 12-year-old watching iRacing for the first time, or even motor racing. That is how you allow leaders through. Not like my practice session yesterday where I was on a 20-lap race stint and someone decided to do a Sebastian Vettel and just rejoin the racetrack right in front of me and ruin my stint. But yeah, sorry Sebastian, but I had to say that.
Yeah, well, there we go. I mean, it could be worse. You could be watching some other big racing esports broadcast that's going on right now. I think this is much better, to be honest.
Yeah, what's the other one?
It's F1 esports.
Oh, don't watch that, ladies and gentlemen. This is a battle for 250 pounds. And Sutton, Cooper for the lead right now. Cooper's backed off the throttle. Ashton's going to go for a lunge here from P3 to P1 on the run down to turn 1. Brilliant move by Jack Ashton.
Oh, that is absolutely sensational. Sutton, he tries to find a line back off the S's complex, though, for sector 1. Ducks back in line there for the long right-hander. He's going to find an inside line here coming off of turn 3. He'll give him the inside for turn 4 as well. Sutton's definitely not done with this particular battle. Almost exactly at the same time on the brakes in towards turn 4. Sutton will re-inherit the race lead, but is there a cutback available for Ashton? I'm going to take that one as a no, but it's still a net gain of 1 position.
And McIntyre has been having technical issues, so you can see him just blinking off in the background. It's not a good look, and he's allowing Chepelevsky and Williams here, well, I should say disallowing them in this lead battle, so hopefully that doesn't cause any further issues. But for the lead right now, it is still Ash Sutton there. Cooper's demoted to 2nd. Ashton, though, brownie points for a thrilling move into turn 1.
Yeah, it was absolutely brilliant indeed. Just the commitment required to just send it that deep into turn 1. And he had both of them for a good couple of corners, but Sutton able to get back past by the time turn number 4 arrived. It's still this train of a good couple of cars here. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars still in this train. Chepelevsky locked onto the back of this one as well. And if you ask me, any one of these 6 can end up winning this race.
Yep, 7 minutes remaining. 6 opportunities for a win. But will it be a race of attrition in these final laps? We will find out here for the Barcelona Grand Prix. Of course, we will not sort out your winner of 250 pounds yet. It is the combined order of both races. So whoever scores the most points, and we'll talk about the point system later on, that is who will go on to win the race. Here is Cooper and Ashton alongside each other into the first corner. This is a nice opportunity for McIntyre to go S2S snake driving. How about David Williams here from 5th with a possible run into 3rd?
Yeah, the brilliant move indeed, coming towards the end of the SS section, but it isn't done yet here for David Williams. There's a car's length, the space to slot in if he so requires here. There's a big defensive move there from Ashton as well. Jack McIntyre's caught out on the outside here. We see Stelian Chepelevsky, who's on the back of this train right now, just watching all of this happen in front of him, and he's getting himself involved in it as well. On the inside line over David Williams, just as Ashton and McIntyre almost rubbed doors coming off of turn 5. They're still side by side on the way up towards the chicane. McIntyre still wrestling that inside line away. Is there contact between the two of them? No. There's contact between Williams and Chepelevsky, though.
Yeah, Chepelevsky ran a bit too hot. I was watching that into the apex, and a brilliant save from him. I've seen Chepelevsky in World Championship races, and he looked more tense on board there. For this one, here we ride on board with him. This is what he sees from eye level in virtual reality. and he'll be doing everything from not checking his mirrors, but looking straight to the apex, looking to claim off as many positions as possible right now. But Cheppy looks racy.
Yep, he really, really does. And now we do have a little bit of side-by-side battling a little bit further back in this field here. We do have still the onboard there with Chepelevsky as he heads his way through that final corner. And now, you know, coming off of this one on towards the pit straight, then a little bit of a split has appeared here in this leading pack because of all the squabbling that has been going on in and amongst them. We might just see a move for the race lead then. That's Jason Cooper inside line over Sutton. Sutton lets him have it, tries to repeat what he did just a couple of laps ago. Coming up through this section, it's almost deja vu here for Sutton. He'll take the big wide line, he'll look for the exit off of turn 3, we'll try and rob that inside line away. It's exactly what he did last time this happened, but can Cooper defend it this time into turn 4?
Is BTCC not paying Ash Sutton enough? Come on. He's looking so racy right now. He wants it. He wants the splash for the cash. And Sutton right now, you know, this should be rebranded the Texas Hold'em race. Everybody's going for that one pot. And Sutton right now, it looks like he's got a double ace up his sleeve.
Yeah, it does, but he does have a string of cars behind him that really, really, really want to rob at least a decent chance at 250 pounds at the end of this thing away from them.
Yeah.
And remember, this is just race 1, and for race 2, we will have a full reverse grid for all the lead lap drivers. So that is just going to be. If you think this is insane, just wait until like maybe 5-10 minutes time, and then we'll get to see what, you know, this type of racing can really deliver.
Yeah, apologies there, Connery. I got a little bit hair-raising as I saw Williams run a bit too hot, but it looked like there was no contact in the braking zone of turn 10. Of course, David Williams, former teammate of our producer, Hugo Luis, Connery. How about that?
Well, technically, Hugo is still
teammates, yeah.
Well,
sorry,
no.
Hugo.
I mean, he finally got his hoodie at Sim Racing Expo.
Yeah, well, there you go. Sorry, Hugo, about that. Still cool, Ender. Here they battle for the lead, though, nevertheless. There's about a couple of laps remaining. We should be able to squeeze in Cooper and Ashton alongside each other. Tell you what, Ashton's very late on the brake, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's able to claim this second position, and he does exactly that, does Jack Ashton. How about now? Jack McIntyre behind. Williams gets a brilliant run heading out of turn 2. He just can't do anything about it.
Yeah, he can't. He's just stuck behind a little bit of a roadblock right now as McIntyre and Cooper try and sort out their differences on the way into turn 4. That's a middle line taken there by Cooper, and McIntyre has to hang it around the outside here. There's a little bit of leaning there. Coming up through the exit of the corner, McIntyre has to duck back in line. Look at how close these two are on the way into turn 5. There's David Williams then. Big outside move here through the left-hander. He gets shoved out a little bit. 2 tires into the gravel, has to fall back in line once again.
We ride on board with the number 10 of Stelian Chepelevsky. The man originally from Bulgaria, grew up there, and is now looking to scream his way around this virtual Spanish circuit for a brilliant result in race 1. He's been stuck in that 6th position for the entirety of this event. Drivers are getting a bit restless now heading into turn 10. 2 drivers deep, 1 driver going for the switchback. David Williams capitalizes, and that's 2 positions for him.
Yeah, really opportunistic move there from David Williams as Cooper and McIntyre basically tried to outbrake each other, then just overdid it, both of them, into turn 10, and now as a result they have both lost the position there. That's a big cut of the inside curve there for Jason Cooper. I'm surprised he hasn't been able to get himself a slowdown penalty as a result of that one, but coming up towards the line then, 55 seconds left on the clock here, Jonathan. It's going to be the final lap here.
Final lap of the race begins. White flag waves. Ash Sutton is comfortably in the lead right now. What about Chepelevsky going for P5 here on Jack McIntyre? Boy, they're both late on the brakes here as they creep towards the 35 of Cooper. Chepelevsky spun around.
Yeah, he has a bit of contact through the first sector there. Chepelevsky had the inside line over McIntyre, took a bit too much curb, got a little bit loose over the curb as well, and ends up parking that car on the outside there of one of the corners in the first sector. But look at this gaggle of cars he's trying to rejoin in right now. That's Kip Stevens and Peter Van Gool trying to work their way through. But meanwhile, battle for P number 2 is going on for these guys. That's actually P3. David Williams versus Cooper on the way through turn 5. Cooper now has just a sense of that inside line, but he has to be concerned about McIntyre behind as well.
Most certainly. For an update on Chepelevsky, he's all the way outside the top 10 now, slicing and dicing for position. So he's going to have brilliant position for the reverse grid race, but not a good haul of points here in race 1. For Ash Sutton, no, he's got a few more corners to win this race right now. Williams is being hounded by the 35 of Cooper in these final corners.
Yep, here's big outside line taken though by Jason Cooper. On the curb there is David Williams trying to defend the position, but Jason Cooper has it on the way through the final couple of corners now. And well, at the race lead, it is Ashley Sutton still leading. I think Ashton's just a little bit too far back to be able to do anything through the final 2 here.
One step of the way there for £250 for our British Touring Car Championship champion. Ashley Sutton wins race 1 here from the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. Brilliant result for himself. Ashton will follow through behind as the bridesmaid for today's event. He will still claim a good haul of points there after starting from the second row. Cooper rounds out our podium. Williams, with some brilliant late passes, ends up in 4th, and we're still racing here between Emery and, of course, James McRitchie for the 13th to 14th positions. They will cross the line in those positions respectively. But Connery, what a race by the leaders. And of course we will reverse grid for race 2, but I almost don't want to do it. I really enjoyed race 1.
Yeah, race 2 is just going to be a completely different dynamic though, because instead of these leaders running away at the front of the field, it's going to be the best of who can file their way through on some of the slowest runners that we have here today. So it might be a little bit of a change up in terms of who's leading this race, especially for the first half of this race, but I just can't wait for it. But we do have the results coming up next.
Yep, here are your final race results here for race number 1 of the Spanish or Barcelona Grand Prix. Same thing. And it is Ash Sutton who wins race number 1 there, representing CQR this afternoon in the number 11 Mazda MX5. He was followed by Jack Ashton, the 55-year-old, no younger when it comes to racing. He has done a thrilling job this afternoon, ends up in 2nd. Cooper rounds out the podium along with VRS Coanda SimSports David Williams, an invitee for today's event. He's also hungry for a bit of extra cash for himself. McIntyre rounded out the top 5. Now, where did Chepelevsky end? He ended all the way down into the top 10, but right ahead of Kip Stevens there. So I think that could be rigged, Connery, because those two organizing this event just sort of say, oh, you know, Chepelevsky spun. Let me just finish here, right next to you, Kip. Let's have a bit of fun.
Maybe, just maybe, but it does mean that both of those will start mid-pack here for the second race, as we see the rest of your field up on screen. You see Jason Plato actually finishing down in P16 after early race problems for him, so he has a pretty decent starting position for race 2 as well, pending incidents trying to head their way through on some of the slower runners. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting one, and like I said at the start of the broadcast here, Jonathan, I think the calculators need to be bought. I think I have like my old school like scientific Casio FX something around somewhere that I could probably use for this. God. I'm going to need it.
No, don't do that. Just go to press Windows or whatever, go calculator. That's the basic one. You use that one. You did see Sam Cooper Bennett, the last driver on the lead lap in our final race results. So that will mean he will, and we will confirm that after the break, but he will have the pole position provisionally for race number 2. So Connery, you spoke about the dynamic being different here for race 2. How will you approach it if you're the likes of Ashley Sutton?
Very carefully, I suppose is the word. that I'll go with. You have to be firm but fair in these reverse grid races, you know, because I used to race in these sorts of things in the BSR World Series when it was when that was a thing, and the reverse grid races were always just. I was going to say organized chaos, but I don't know if he's even organized. But it's really a battle of attrition sometimes if you're back in the field in one of those things. But yeah, it's I have absolutely no idea who's going to finish top of the next race. Let me just put that out there, especially with how the draft does affect things here in the MX5s, where it can keep people in contention that shouldn't really be all that close. So. Yeah, this is going to be absolutely crazy. I'm definitely looking forward to it. We're just waiting for the next race to get all set up and organized here, and then we get to see who actually takes home that £250 winner takes all prize.
And I think the best way to put it is that race 1 is a lot of skill, and it's very skill based. Race 2 is almost like blackjack. you have to have a lot of high luck, a lot of high skill. Well, no, you don't need any skill for blackjack, let me tell you that much. But you do still need to make your way up through the field. So this will be a tough one for the guys, but luck is going to be everything, of course.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be definitely a huge part of it. There's absolutely no denying that. Of course, there are some drivers that do have traits that lend more to that sort of racing than race 1 sort of racing, for example. If they are very, very confident on the brakes, very good overtakers, then a lot of those sorts of drivers really do thrive when it comes to reverse grid races. But if you're the sort of driver that likes to just get out ahead and run your own laps, then that's really where you're going to struggle. So we'll see a shake-up in the order, not just in terms of the reverse grid, but we'll see a shake-up of the order in terms of the fastest drivers that can actually work their way through the field as well.
And now that we've been able to see Barcelona for the first time on RaceSpot TV, what do you think about the racing this circuit provides?
Yeah, I think it's pretty awesome. Of course, this is in the MX5s, which are fairly low-powered machines, not a lot of aerodynamic grip or anything of the sort, but they still had some absolutely brilliant racing, especially coming down in towards turn 1, where you can just surrender that inside line away, and as long as you get your line perfect coming through the S's, you do have a very decent chance of making something happen into turn 3 and 4 as well. So that is absolutely brilliant to see. Of course, you have the big braking zone at 5 as well, which can be a thing, and then of course 10. But yeah, I just kind of want to see how this plays out in some maybe higher downforce cars like the Formula Renault 3.5, the Formula 3, or the IndyCar or something like that, because it is a track that really does play does have a whole lot of benefits to those high downforce cars with some of these high speed corners. But we have MX5s for now, and they're giving us a very, very good show indeed.
Hugo, can you flick back to the track map? I have something pretty cool I just saw there. So there it is on screen. I always like to look at what a track map looks like artistically. So when I look at Kailami, for example, it looks like a duck. But when I don't know why I'm about to say this, but when I look at the circuit to Barcelona-Catalunya, it looks like a guy who's tensing with both arms in the air, showing off his muscles.
No, on that topic, you aware of the Pokemon Geodude?
Oh, yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah, well, true. Hugo came up with the best one right now. It almost looks like the iRacing logo. I think it should be the iRacing logo, just the circuit to Catalunya now.
Yeah, if modding was allowed in iRacing, someone should make a track with the iRacing guy as just the track layout. That would be pretty interesting.
Ooh,
but yeah, I maintain that Catalunya looks like Geodude from Pokemon.
Yeah, well, there you go. From our own Connery Maddock here in the commentary booth. But yeah, that is my useless input for today's event. Do we still have Chepelevsky Cam, Hugo, as well? Is he still in his cockpit? He could be on a toilet break or something here between races. No, he's not there, so we don't have that for the moment. But I have to tell you, Connery, not that I'm good friends with Stellian, and I he's in great shape, let me tell you that much. Not that I'm getting any ideas, don't get that wrong. I'm just saying, I just like to point that out. The guy is, I think in the past 12 to 18 months, has really transformed his body and got himself in tremendous shape.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's you know, it's a thing that even esports players, esports drivers have to do at this stage, because you know, it's not just your physical well-being that is important. It's your physical well-being that also affects your mental well-being as well, and your focus in races and things like that. So it's really important to you know, get all that sorted and not be too much of a slob. It has to be said, but yeah, I can definitely see importance, and especially with some of these track drive wheels that the drivers are now running, you really do need pretty beefy arms if you're running high force feedback to move those things. So, so yeah, it's you know, I congratulate Stallion on his weight loss regime, I suppose.
Yes, and I've read in the comments, and I will admit I am wrong about Jack Ashton being 55 years old, but that's what he's listed, ladies and gentlemen. I'm reading his driver profile right now to myself. He says 55 years old, living in, I can't pronounce that, Bungay? Can you pronounce it, Connery? You're from
Hang on, I need to pull this up.
So he's from Bungay, Suffolk, England. He's been iRacing for 2 years. He says not very good, but enjoying it much. Is this a piss take of a driver profile? Is this a fake that he just wanted me to read on the broadcast?
I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I just got punked, you know. Jack Ashton should change his name to Ashton Kutcher. Host of Punked. Yeah, see, I thank you for understanding that.
Yeah.
But there you go. So that's why, ladies and gentlemen, I do apologize if that information's incorrect, but I've been trolled.
Well, there we go. This wouldn't be the first time here on Esports TV where we've been told wrong information. There we go. That's
yeah,
that's one for the ages, isn't it?
Yeah, and well, I'm just reading. That's from good old Dr. Dave Baker. I haven't spoken to you in a while, Dave, so it'll be good if you were racing out here today. But nevertheless, though, we will see our drivers in action for race number 2 this afternoon. Don't leave us. The race will be underway in a few moments' time. This is going to be an action-filled one with a reverse grid. See you soon. Listen to that. Race 2 is almost about to commence here for the Spanish Grand Prix from the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. 250 pounds on the pot, ready to go to our best driver who claims the most points over both races this afternoon. Race 1 just concluded. We are ready to go for race number 2, Connery, around this wonderful Circuit de Catalunya. And of course, a circuit which doesn't provide the most overtaking spots, like I said, Connery. I expected turn 1 and turn 10 to be our best looks. But in MX5s, these drivers turned almost every corner into an overtaking spot.
Yeah, that did certainly seem to be the case, and part of the reason for that is because the draft really does keep a lot of the drivers close and in contention here, because of the amount of time that you are on very heavy on the throttle pedal. So we did see, of course, passes then into turn 1 that were then repasses into 3 and 4. Big battling through turn 5 as well. That can indeed happen. It's one of the big braking zones at this circuit. And then turn 10 is not as much of a passing point as it is on the modern GP layer, where it's a little bit tighter. It's a bit more wide open here in the historic layout. So it's really, really tough to be able to pull anything off and down into there. It didn't stop anyone from trying, and it didn't stop anyone very early on the race to, just literally take the definition of send it literally into there, and unfortunately wrecked the driver out of the race. But of course, without that final chicane as well, it does mean that the braking and getting alongside issue is exacerbated here, but I don't think it really affects the racing here in these MX5s all that much.
1 monstrous minute until the lights will illuminate and disappear for race number 2 this afternoon. It will be reverse grid format, and we discussed this earlier, Connery, for the likes of Ashley Sutton, who won race number 1. For Jack Ashton, our 55-year-old, who's actually 22 years old, who they will start down the order. We'll look at the grid for the moment, but this will be a tough one.
Yes, it will, and well, we'll get to see Sam Cooper Bennett taking a pole position here today with Ralph Cullinan there of sharing the front row with him. Steve Handford and Spencer McCarthy will round out row 2 with Mark Westwood and Steve Hefford, bringing things down to P6. So those lucky drivers right at the end of the leading lap, well, they get themselves the first couple of rows in the starting grid for race 2.
Yeah, of course, Sutton will start from 22nd, our winner. The 4 drivers behind him did not finish on the lead lap, and they will have to remain behind here on this very long run down to turn number 1 at Barcelona. It's a downhill run here at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya on the run down to turn 1, and the field will really bottleneck. But it's all about who will win race number 2 and the 250 pounds here on offer for the Barcelona Grand Prix. Engines rev, lights illuminate. We go green for race number 2. Already a brilliant jump by Spencer McCarthy. This looks like Fernando Alonso in Formula 1 just many years ago. Up the inside here for the lead from 4th position. Spencer McCarthy with a brilliant jump.
Absolutely brilliant from the second row of the grid, P4, all the way up into P1 within a space of half a pit straight there for Spencer McCarthy. Brilliant stuff indeed. 2x2 like Noah's Ark all the way further back through Sector 1. And now we see a spinner coming towards the inside there. That's Benjamin Mears that's gone off track just a little bit. Briefly makes it 4 wide with a good couple of cars. Look at this gaggle, 3 wide. Multiple instances of it on the way down to turn 4. There was a driver that pushed wide there. That was Mark Westwood having a good couple of problems. How are these guys keeping it on the track?
And look at these MX5s heading into turn 5. They're jockeying for important positions in the opening laps. Couple of drivers separated by a matter of inches. Contact between 3 there. Chepelevsky off into the gravel.
Oh, big contact there for Sam Cooper Bennett as well. Your pole position sitter for this race, span right in front of traffic. And it was a big head-on contact with a driver behind. That was a VRS Crown Sim Sports car. That can only be David Williams. We'll have a look on the replay.
Oh, no.
We'll see this. Bam! Right in there. Yeah. Absolutely unsighted.
And I mean, this is sim racing, so we're gonna have a laugh about that. But that was quite a hefty shunt.
If that was real, like, I wouldn't have reacted like that. Jesus.
No, certainly not. But that's David Williams out of contention here for 250 pounds. Chepalevsky is going to have his work cut out for him. He still remains out there on the racetrack, but he is a country mile behind from the likes of Roque Garcia and from the rest of the bunch up ahead. Sam Cooper Bennett, our pole sitter, out of the race here for race number 2. So not the start I was expecting, but reverse grid's always going to be a race of attrition as we see these guys slicing and dicing on the main stretch.
Yeah, absolutely, Ralph Cullen. And then, look, the challenge here for P2. Hefford deciding to go to the outside line. We'll see 3 wide again here for the second podium position in towards turn 1. Cullinan still inside, becomes the outside for the second. Apex gets shoved out a little bit. That's Jason Plato all the way through on him. He gets himself up into the final step of the podium here early on in this race. Jason Plato looking very, very good to have a fantastic race 2 here, but is it going to be enough in terms of the point situation to bag that 250 quid?
And no pun intended, but Plato is positioned well here to win this race. And he's positioning himself well for some good overtakes. So, well, that is pun intended, of course. And he heads through turn number 5 here. We ride on board with the 22 of James McRitchie. McRitchie is currently in 6th, right behind Peter Van Gool. And I love this next left-hander at turn 7. It's so fun. This is Jamie Ayres into the left-hander that you have to form up through there. God, he gets a bit tail happy.
Yeah, very. And now an outside line there through what's going to be turn number 9. And Sutton's on his way through. Sutton has got himself all the way up into, I'm just going to double check this one, up into P8 here on the second lap of the event. He's up 14 positions already. There's a big send there for Creenor down the inside of Ayres at turn 10. So the drivers that started at the back of the grid, they are really, really getting a move on.
Sutton's always been one of the best sim racing drivers in a tin top, and he's proving his worth here in race 2. We ride on board with him. Let's have a listen here to close the lap and experience the brilliance of Ash Sutton. So again, Connery, you saw some technical issues with Jack McIntyre up ahead in number 15, and this happened in race 1. And, oh, did I see a lapped car there pull off to the inside? That could have ended in turmoil, but luckily, whoever that is, can't quite spot who it is it Kip Stevens, I think, series organizer. He's going to get in the way of the rest of these guys, but he's trying his best not to.
Oh, Van Gool has to take an extreme outside line there. So does James McRitchie as well. Jack McIntyre had the best run of all of them and now looks down to the inside at turn number 4. Then deep through there, gets the back end out just a little bit. And you can see Sutton's trying to file his way through on this one as well. We're riding on board with him. Really opportunistic move. And now another dive down the inside at turn 5 here for Sutton. A bit of door rubbing off the corner. 2 tires in the dirt for McIntyre as he wrestles himself back onto the racing circuit. Sutton, though, still with an inside line in towards the S's up the hill then. Sutton still trying to battle, but it's a good line there, a good alternate line being taken by Jack McIntyre. That keeps him ahead for now.
God, this is brilliant. Sutton exploiting as much as he can from the track width. Oh, had a peek there into turn 10. He's almost forced McIntyre to miss his braking zone, but I think that was more James McRitchie. No, excuse me, Peter Van Gool, I should say, in the number 18. Sutton, there's no room for him. He knows he's quicker. McIntyre knows he's quicker, but can they get past Van Gool here, heading into turn 12 of the historic circuit? Sutton up the inside, possibly. He'll form up here at the final corner, and look who's racing behind. It's Ben Creenor.
Craner gets a very good run off the corner. He has to step out of the line to avoid running into the back of Sutton. The Sutton, he's basically bump drafting McIntyre down the pit straight here. They'll just steam by on the inside of Peter Van Gool there. Sutton still pushing, on the way down to turn 1. 3 wide though in the back. And Sutton, he's basically pushed McIntyre past and defended from Craner, but they all mess up their line coming up through the first sector. Now Sutton looks to try and get this off the corner of turn 3, gets the line, brings it alongside. Craner has to defend this one around the outside of 4 now, but that was just ridiculous.
And that was very smart though, because look at this now. Sutton has got not only McIntyre but himself past officially Peter Van Gool and now Ben Craner. Craner though sends Sutton long into the braking zone, and they're lucky that it didn't create a concertina effect that also took Jack McIntyre out of contention in this event. Let's ride on board with Ben Craner for the next few corners. But Connery, God goodness, mate. I mean, these guys are, I mean, surely Britain's paying enough salary for these guys. They're so hungry for a nice bit of cash.
Yeah, absolutely. But you never know, with the big B word incoming, then maybe you need to get all the money that you can get in this situation. Jack Ashton, though, just right in the back of the shot there, going for a move. Here comes Jason Cooper then, down the inside of Peter Van Gool, just behind where Ash Sutton is running right now. There we go. There's the battle heading their way through turn number 10. Cooper trying an outside line now around these guys. Can he make it work? And, well, it looks to be beneficial for him through the middle of the corner, through the exit of the corner. He can get the good run off as well. Ashton just going to get squeaked out on the inside there.
What's the B word?
Brexit.
Oh. I had no idea what you were talking about there for a second. Now I do. Now I can laugh. I'm just glad that, you know, good old Australia is doing themselves well financially and politically. As we won't talk about that too much. This is that Kip Stevens again at turn? No, that's Sam Cooper Bennett, excuse me. He's a lap behind. Of course, our pole sitter rejoining the race here in a damaged MX5, and he's just getting in the way here of this lead battle. Sutton's just managed to make his way past Jack McIntyre. They're going to slice and dice heading into turn 4 here. The right-hander, McIntyre's turned around. Rosberg Hamilton once more.
Whoa, and the drivers just have to scatter behind, and there's a further incident that's been caused by that one. That's Peter Van Gool having a good couple of problems. He was, well, he took a very extreme wide line to try and avoid that one. Gets 2 tires into the dirt, spins him in the middle of traffic as well. We'll get a replay up on screen. There's the initial contact that sent McIntyre around, and then we have a look behind Peter Van Gool there, across, exit the corner, in the tire, in the dirt, in the grass, and into another car eventually.
I tell you what, as well, as we watch the replay, Plato is looking good here to claim the race lead anytime shortly from Spencer McCarthy. So Plato is positioned well not only to take that race lead, but possibly win this race. There's still plenty of time remaining here. 15 minutes left on the board, as you can see at the top left-hand side of the screen. We are watching a battle here between McRitchie and Jack Ashton in that 9th position. Now, by the way, for those who are wondering why I said Jack Ashton, and we covered this earlier, was 55 years old, someone's copy-pasted the driver bio for one driver who's 55 years old to 8 different names. So it's a lottery now for us, Connery, to guess who that driver is.
Yeah, it's like, you know, who is 55 years old? Is it David Williams? I know that for certain. He's not.
Definitely
Jack
not.
Ashton, Kip Stevens, Kip Stevens doesn't have it next to his name. We also have David Hampson, Matthew Emery, Reece Saunders, and Robert Hartley, who are all apparently 55 years old.
That's a typical one. I don't want to offend anyone or get anything wrong, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But the oldest field here in the MX5s that we've ever had, technically, if you think about it, and they will still jockey away for important spots. For the likes of Ashley Sutton, he's got one hand on that check for £250, but it's not over yet because you never know. in motor racing. As we watch Krina look racy with Ralph Cullinan here heading into turn 5, and that's a brilliant switchback move by Ben Krina.
Well, if we're talking FIA rules, then he's inside the white line there, all 4 tires, trying to cut that one. So that one's a little bit cheeky there for Ben Krina, and well, it's able to work out for him. And of course, the slowdown penalty is not given, it seems. So well, I'll take what he's been given. And now Cooper's trying to work his way through on Cullinan here as well, on the way down towards turn 10. And well, that number 20 car just occupied the middle of the track, back to the outside line, so De Cooper can dive it down in now from quite a distance back, but he's able to get that pass complete. Not really defended that much by that number 20. As meanwhile, back to your race leader. He's currently dealing with a little bit of lap traffic through the penultimate corner. Will he have to lift for this? No, he won't. I was scared he might have just been able to. And well, if that did happen, then Plato would have been right on the back of him.
Yeah, most
Oh no! Oh, the lap car, he completely blocks Plato and he gets sent into the wall. Plato's going to be struggling with damage now to the front end of that Mazda. That's Steve Hefford on his way through onto the second step.
And Wesley Walsh was the lapped car, and oh, that was just a major miscommunication there. Plato now with hopefully what is not terminal damage to that MX5. It's certainly got a little dent on the front end. As we have a look here on the broadcast, it's difficult to see. Plato's in that 888 MX5. It's identified in black and orange, but doesn't look like the damage is too bad. Let's see if we get a better shot through the next camera angle, Connery, but it's definitely... No, I think it seems okay.
It's dented a little bit on driver's left. I think Plato has really gotten away with one there, it has to be said. That seems to be a much worse contact than it actually was there in terms of the car damage. There we can see the cracked sort of you know, around the headlights where the bodywork is coming away from the seams there and just exposing a little bit more, you know, of the body to the air. So it's going to affect him in terms of the drag, but the balance should be absolutely fine in that MX5. But yeah, that could have been so much worse for Plato.
Yeah, well, now he's going to have to dispose of Hefford ASAP if he's going to catch McCarthy for the win here with just over 10 minutes remaining. We're watching Ben Krina, who's down in the 6th position. He began this lap in 5th. He's getting a bit racy here with Jason Cooper. Oh, there's a bit of contact behind with Ralph Cullinan. And one driver spun off. I can confirm that is James McRitchie in the number 22, who's been able to pick up the pieces there. Here's the replay on screen. Talk us through it.
Yeah, absolutely. Deep on the brakes in towards turn 10. A bit of contact there with the rear left wheel arch there of James McRitchie. That was quite far back that the other car dove it in there as trying to defend the move, because it was Rick McRitchie going around the outside there in towards turn 10. Just lifted a little bit off the brakes there on entry, did Ralph Cullinan, and has resulted in the contact that we have just seen there. Meanwhile, on the live pictures, we're actually going to see a little bit 3 wide down in towards turn number 1. That's absolutely no problem at all for these guys, it seems. And that's Ben Krina. He's currently at the head of this train right now, but Cooper's all over the back of him. Is there contact? Yes, there's contact between the two of them coming up through turn 3. Ashton's also involved in this one as well, just waiting in the wings to try and make his big appearance then. Maybe down in towards turn number 4. No, it's just going to be those two battling down into there. Cooper on the inside. Krina's overdone it on the outside line then, and now Jack Ashton can file his way through and maybe even challenge Cooper down in towards turn 5. He's going to be a little bit too far back, as actually Krina's going to fight this one back. He's not done with this one at all. He's still trying to wrestle his position away.
Ashton started in the 21st position, now currently in 7th, and not looking any less tempted to pull off more moves. He's looked good this whole race. That MX5 is written off almost, though.
Yeah, it certainly looks like that. If you just look at the rear end of that Mazda, just that's all pushed up. That is not how it rolled off the factory floor, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's nothing left of that number 98 as they head into turn 10. I know a couple of drivers ahead there of Cooper and Krina seem to get it all wrong. But if we want to give you an update on Jason Plato, a 2-time British Touring Car Championship champion is in 3rd of Jason Plato, followed by the next generation of champions in Ash Sutton right behind in the 4th position. And the problem for Plato is now I feel like that damage is holding him back.
It could be, but Sutton has a very good run over Plato here. I feel like I'm commenting on the BTCC race at this point. Here comes the big block then for Plato. Sutton has to go around the outside. There's going to be another car involved in this one of Hefford as well. The contact between Sutton and Plato in towards turn 1. Plato hits the concrete wall on the outside. It's that corner. Sutton has been able to get away and try and track down Hefford, but here's the replay.
Oh, this is going to be a tough one. That's definitely not netcode. There was contact there for sure. I don't know, did Sutton... Let's not, you know what, we're enjoying this event so far. Let's not waste our time judging who's at fault, what's happening. Let's just enjoy the racing so far. One thing's for sure is that Plato has a damaged steering rod and damaged suspension, and he is essentially out of contention. Here's Sutton though.
Oh, riding on the back of Steve Hefford there, going through turn 5, getting more contact, and now Sutton looks for the aggressive move in towards turn 7. He's able to make it work as he overcooked it, has to take a lot of curb on the exit of the corner, but that's the position secured now for Sutton. He gets himself up into P2. It's all but certain now that he'll get himself that 250 pounds, but he needs to make it until the end of the race.
Yeah, only a few minutes remaining. Dr. Dave Baker telling us that's not really the real Jason Plato. You've ruined it for us, David. We pretended it was.
We were living in our own fantasy, and you've just like shone the light on us, and now we're very, very disappointed.
That's like when I saw Gordon Ramsay on iRacing, and I said, is that really him? The chef? It's not him. I thought for 2 years it was the real Gordon Ramsay.
We've controlled twice so far this broadcast.
I'm 100% being serious. I thought it was the real Kitchen Nightmares Gordon Ramsay, and it wasn't. But yeah, a bit anticlimactic there. Nevertheless, the whichever Jason Plato that is out of the race. Sutton now under attack from Hefford for the 2nd position. He just claimed that spot. Sutton aggressively defends the inside there at the last second. And I think Hefford's going to have to take the long way around to make this move. Now, he can pull off the switchback, Connery, into this next sequence of corners.
Yeah, he can, and looks like he's going to attempt the cutback then. Coming through turn 3. Does he have enough momentum? He does, but it has to be an outside move then. Coming in towards turn 4. Sutton knows how potent that inside line is for turn 4, and now Steve Hefford can't complete the move through that corner. He's still going to look for a chance off of it, though, and then maybe angle for an inside line towards turn 5, but Sutton has that covered as well. Hefford tries to go deep on the brakes on the outside there. Again, looks for another good move off the corner, but Sutton has absolutely everything covered.
I'd almost be nervous here in this scrap between Hefford, because Sutton now has, as we discussed earlier, one hand on the trophy, Connery, towards being 250 pounds richer. And for those who are joining us for the first time this afternoon, entry fee for this event, £10. It has made this prize pot up to 250 pounds that is on offer for the drivers here today, and it looks like yours truly, Ash Sutton, may be able to win this race and win that prize pot.
Yeah, certainly looks to be the case. 5 minutes remaining left in this one as they hit their way through the penultimate corner. I don't think Hefford has really anything to be able to challenge the driver off Sutton there. He's just already sliding it through the final corner as well as Hefford. Well held, though, all things considered, but that has basically put the final nail on the coffin in terms of him trying the advanced position.
So a few more laps to go here. God, Spencer McCarthy's driven well, has to be said. Started 4th. Still remains in the lead pretty much for the entirety of this event as we watch a bit of argy-bargy here for the 4th position.
Absolutely. And, well, Jason Cooper still holding that one strong for now, but he has a couple of hungry drivers behind him. Cranol's not been, well, he's not been afraid of the aggressive moves throughout the 2 races that we've had here today, that is for sure. And again, very deep on the brakes into turn 4, trying to find a line perhaps in towards 5. It's going to have to be half side, well, half outside, whatever. He doesn't commit to anything, much like I don't commit to what sentence I was going to pick in that particular one. But now down in towards turn number 7, Cooper still ahead in this particular trio. This is basically fighting for pride at this stage. The point that the money is pretty much in Ashley Sutton's bank account. He's just waiting for that transaction to clear. But for the rest of the field, still absolutely fantastic fighting.
Yeah, still racy here in the final laps, of course. Jack Ashton's at the back of this train. Jason Cooper ahead. Ben Kriener is in a sandwich between both drivers as they head through the cambered turn 10 that we use in MotoGP and Superbikes, of course. Not in Formula One or in Grand Prix racing. Whoa, have a look at Kriener there, just looking for the inside. But Ashton there was ready to poke his nose. Not for a move, just for a different line. It just goes to show that at such a tight, narrow circuit, such as Catalunya, there are so many different lines you can take around this circuit. And that's the line I was telling you about before, Connery.
Yeah, Krilo, just as you mentioned it, he goes for like a wild line going off for the final turn out into the gravel. But there we go. You know, I guess you were waiting until, you know, waiting for when we were going to see that in this race, and it happens within the final 3 minutes of race 2 here. So we'll see if other drivers tend to explore out there over these final couple of laps or not. But there we go. Cooper. Very, very tight coming off of turn 3 there. A bit of oversteer starting to sail in now for these guys, you know, because there are a lot of high and medium speed corners here, which really doesn't number on the tires. But of course, in a race as short as this, its effect is really, really diminished. But something you do have to keep in your mind as you go down in towards turn 5. Then still all nose to tail between these guys, and Hefford attempting to keep all of them behind him, but Cooper might just have a little bit of a look coming towards the end of this lap.
What a brilliant onboard shot that was from the number 72 of Steve Hefford from the wheel cam. Hefford now is under attack by Cooper. Cooper is looking for a brilliant switchback. I've almost never seen a switchback there through turn 9, and now they're separated by about a car width on the run down to turn 10. Cooper closes the door as he etches for space around the outside. And oh goodness, there was a lap car there just out of nowhere, just getting in the way. And they're getting a bit argy-bargy now into turn 11. Turn 12 coming up the right-hander. They're going to have to form up, possibly into the final corner, which they all decide to do.
Yeah, it looks like it'll be the case. This will be the final lap that we're coming up onto next time these guys head their way across the line. Just 50 seconds left on the clock as they hit the timing line, and now here comes Cranel. Then Hefford seems stricken in that number 72 Mazda MX5 as they go side by side, drag racing all the way down this very long pit straight. You go down the incline here in towards turn number 1, and well, Hefford is later on the brakes there trying to defend. A bit of door barging through the middle of the complex, and Cranel has to back out of this one. Jack Ashton is trying to get himself involved every which way, but I'm not sure there's much he can do with how much damage that he has to that car. But he has a very, very good run indeed coming through turn 3, and he might be able to challenge for 4.
Oh no! Bit of a tangle in the braking zone, and oh goodness, Crean is just able to keep that car facing in the right direction. Brilliant car control there as he saves it. The two collided in the braking zone, Connery. And this will be the final lap, we can confirm, as the white flag waves, but it could have ended in much worse conditions.
Yeah, it definitely could have, as currently your race leader is heading his way through turn 9 as well, so not too long before he heads his way across the line. But the thing is, the battle for P4 still very much undecided here between Hefford, Ashton, Cranor, and well, this one will be decided coming through that final sector, you have to say. But take it home here, Jonathan.
One more complex of corners to go for Spencer McCarthy. We watch a battle here between Ashton and Hefford into turn 11. And they're looking racing, aren't they? And yes, we get an encore of gravel driving into the sand trap. Life's a beach for these guys as the sand flown up into the air. But the winner of the race, as we still see side-by-side action, Spencer McCarthy wins from Barcelona for race number 2. Ashley Sutton, though, is 250 pounds richer as he crosses the line in the second position. And a drag race to the finish there between Hefford, Kriener and Ashton. And that, respectively, was your finishing order for 4th, 5th and 6th. What a finish.
Absolutely fantastic racing there back through the field. You can see how desperate these drivers are for basically just bragging rights at this point. You can see, at least in the last corner there, Kriener just squeezing his way through on the inside, coming through the penultimate corner. Finally gets that pass complete for the final corner. Spencer McCarthy, though, credit where credit is due. He's from P4 on the grid up into P1. He does some very well-deserved burnouts there, coming up through the first sector, and but the thing is, the man of the moment is definitely that car of Ashley Sutton, who has gone from P22 to 2nd to secure that £250 prize.
I tell you what, here as McCarthy does some brilliant burnouts for us, I was a bit disappointed by the drivers that they didn't, after the race in the checkered flag, all go flying into each other at turn 1. And we didn't see any cars into the trees or anything. But nevertheless, let's have a look at your final race results this afternoon. What a race it was from Spencer McCarthy in the first position. Has to be said, this has been some extremely high quality racing for a one-off event this afternoon for £250. That prize pot goes to Ashley Sutton. First place in race 1, reverse grid race 2, still ended up in 2nd on the podium. He was followed by Jason Cooper there in the Swift Cooper number 35 MX5. Hefford rounded out the field in the 4th position. Rounding out the top 5 was Ben Kriener. Now don't forget, Hefford, Kriener and Ashton were in that drag race to the finish line in the closing stages, but Jack Ashton in that Excite Energy MX5 only ended up at the back end of that drag race. McIntyre and McRitchie ended up 7th and 8th. Rounding out the top 10 was Carl Jacquelet, who started down the order, of course. Did not finish on the lead lap in race 1, so we had to start behind Sutton and still ended up in the 9th position. Brilliant race from Carl after falling in some early troubles in race 1. For Ralph Cullinan, started on the front row for race 2 and he looked ever so racy this time out. Bit of contact for him, of course, but he managed to bring that MX5 home in a brilliant top 10 result right there. Down the order, you can see a few other notable names, of course. Lucas Zakowski ended up rounding out the top 15. He was the last driver on the lead lap this afternoon for racing action. Kip Stevens, who was organizer for today's event, only ended up in 20th and a DNF for today's event. And Connery, you can see there down the order. We'll flick through to the next page and you see some other big names, of course, the likes of Chepelevsky and Williams out of the race in the opening lap contact that we saw. And it would have been nice to see them racing out there in on display for race 2, but nevertheless, we got to see them on display in race number 1.
Yep, we did, and fantastic racing it was that they did put on in race 1. It's just unfortunate that they had the early race instance here in race 2 and weren't able to give any challenge to Ashley Sutton as he worked his way through the field to take the prize here today. But what bonkers racing that we've seen here today, and it's not that it was unfair racing. It was awesome racing. It was bumper banging, door rubbing. It's stuff that we like to see in racing. It just shows how close everyone is. Of course, we did have our moments. We had our brain fades. Even us in the commentary, we've had our brain fades from time to time. But that's sometimes the part of racing. And with the performances some of the drivers put out there, it's been a very, very good show.
So £250 richer is Ashley Sutton. What would you do with the cash?
I would put that towards my new graphics card because I need to do some producing for RaceSport TV.
Oh, nice. I like that. I don't know, Hugo, would you do anything with it? I can't think what I would do. I would probably just keep it in my savings account and never use it. That's what I do with most of my money.
Are you a very frugal person?
Yeah, I don't know. Hugo said he'll pay his energy bills. So Yeah, of course, I'd probably do the same thing. Run some errands with it. I'd probably, on a night out, probably spend it on my 2 Ubers going to the club and then back home at 5 a.m. So I can see where I'd spend my £250. Nevertheless, though, final wrap-up today, Connery. A brilliant circuit is the Circuit de Catalunya, but I feel like as much as iRacing have done a great job with this circuit, we've had the best British sim racers on offer today, and they produce some brilliant racing.
Yeah, it's been crazy door-to-door stuff, firm but fair racing. It's really all you could ask for an event like this. It was absolutely great fun out there today. And of course, we've had Ashley Sutton take the prize overall, very well deserved as well, considering his performance in both races. Finished P1 in the feature race, P2 in the finished P1 in the first race, P2 in the second race, and we also had some good performances out there from a good couple of drivers. Ben Cranor as well has been billed a little bit of a dark horse, but he was making moves left, right, and center. Same with Jack Ashton as well. So. Definitely names that could have, surmounted Ashley Sutton this race. It just seems like Sutton really had the best start of all of them.
So it's time to wrap up here from the RaceSpot TV commentary booth. What an event it was for the BSR Spanish Grand Prix. For more information on British sim racers, of course, visit their associated websites. From ourselves at RaceSpot TV. Visit racespot.tv for more information. And you can watch more of this sim racing action on our associated platforms. Thanks to everybody for watching today's event. I thoroughly enjoyed it here from the commentary booth. From Connery Maddock alongside me, Hugo Luis behind the scenes in production, from myself, Jonathan Simon, and the entire RaceSpot TV crew behind the scenes that makes this broadcast what it is. A brilliant piece of sim racing broadcasting on display. This was a RaceSpot TV presentation. Our winner today, Ashley Sutton, he is 250 pounds richer. We say so long from the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya.